Crows gather on a barbed wire fence. While a phone rings in a desolate room, a voicemail plays for Chin Ran from his doctor, a warning about urgent genetic treatment, but Chin Ran just sits there defeated. He picks up a small red chip, clutching it tightly in his hand, and watches healthy people outside, remembering the doctor's grim diagnosis. Genetic treatment was his only hope, but the cost was a staggering 3 million, a sum completely out of his reach. For 3 years he worked tirelessly, only managing to save a fraction of the cost, feeling utterly hopeless and alone. Just then he overhears a conversation, whispers of a new underground game where in-game items sell for a fortune. This catch is terrifyingly simple. If you die in the game, you die for real death, exorbitant prices, and the entry fee is exactly what he has. He looks at the game chip in his hand, a decision forming in his eyes. He is going to bet his life on this game. He plugs the device into the headset. And the world around him goes dark again, waking up to an awful smell, this scent of the deceased filling the air. A grotesque creature lunges forward, and the shocking realism hits him hard, its decaying face inches from his own, forcing a violent reaction from our boy. He catches his breath on the floor, still reeling from the sensory overload. He tries to calm himself down, it is just a game, but his evaluation screen shows he is worse than cannon fodder. He decides to search the nearby body for loot, finding only a few ordinary supplies. This only weapon is a small, worn-out knife, and its stats are practically non-existent. He then pulls out a dusty old book, a diary from the previous occupant. It describes a world ravaged by war and nightly raids, revealing that staying indoors is a death sentence. He realizes he needs to find a safer place soon, just as a commotion starts outside his door. Suddenly, the door bursts open, and a woman stumbles into the hallway in a panic, running right past him as if he was not even there. A lone person steps onto the scene, just as a masked brute corners his prey, and from the shadows our boy sees the danger. He strikes without hesitation, landing a clean blow across the brute's chest, but the attack unlocks a new skill, a sudden insight into dagger mastery. This brute scoffs, underestimating his opponent, and raises his cleaver for a final strike. But our boy is faster, striking a vital point. A single decisive blow ends the fight. He catches his breath, realizing how close that was when a voice suddenly calls out to him. It is the woman he just saved, who simply turns and leaves him be, leaving him to wonder about her motives. He turns his attention to the fallen enemy, only to find a paltry reward for his efforts. So he moves on, scouting a wealthy district, deciding it is best to avoid other survivors. But he spots two people below, and quickly ducks back into cover. But a misstep makes a loud noise, alerting the two survivors to his presence. This woman looks up and recognizes him instantly. She realizes there are more enemies nearby, her expression hardening with worry as two masked thugs confirm their capture, revealing they are from the notorious Vultures gang. This other woman proposes a plan: she will create a diversion, while our boy finds the right moment to strike. This captured woman surrenders, drawing their attention, but the MC knows a direct attack is too risky, as the other thug could retaliate instantly. She pleads for her life, a desperate gambit, and it works. The thug is distracted, giving him an opening. This second thug whirls around in shock, just as the MC predicted he would. He closes the distance to the first target and lands a critical strike from behind. This second thug cries out in agony before the MC finishes him off in the same move. This fight took its toll, his health is dangerously low. He checks the loot, two damaged firearms low on ammo. He hands one to the woman he rescued, who warns that more vultures are surely on their way. She leads him to a hidden location, confirming they are not followed. It is a secret hatch leading underground, and they descend into the darkness below, emerging into an underground storage room. This woman introduces herself as Colin, and Chin Ran replies saying he is not a soldier, just a martial arts practitioner. As thanks, Colin offers him shelter for a day but insists he must leave by the next evening. Sometime later, Chin Ran wakes from his rest, finding Colin eating a small piece of food, and his sudden awakening startles her, causing her to choke in surprise. He offers her some water, realizing how precious supplies are, while she explains the Vulture gang's brutal reputation. Chin Ran looks worried, understanding he has made a powerful enemy. But Colin clarifies the gang is now hunting both of them. She questions his ability to ambush armed opponents, and he promises not to make the same mistake again. He realizes fighting the Vultures means a chance at valuable loot, so Colin offers to teach him evasion techniques, making Chin Ran wonder if she is a special NPC tutor. He eagerly accepts her offer, ready to learn, and a system notification confirms he has learned a new skill. Colin is amazed at how quickly he masters the movements, but he just credits his martial arts training. Meanwhile, the Vultures have arrived in force, their leader ordering his men to search the area vigilantly. A lone vulture patrols the desolate streets, weapon drawn. He stalks his first target from the shadows, striking from behind with deadly precision. A critical hit takes the man down instantly. He loots a bulletproof vest from the body, checking the pistol, now fully loaded, as the next target senses a sudden chill. But it is too late, the second one falls just as quickly. A third man stands exposed on a ledge, but our boy knows he is not a good shot, deciding to circle around for a better angle. He finds his opening as another thug lights a cigarette, and a third kill unlocks a brand new skill, stealth. He realizes repeating an action unlocks its ability, moving like a ghost through the darkness now. He embraces his new role as an assassin, his blade painting the night red, and claims his fifth victim without a sound. This remaining thugs are left confused and alone, their leader sensing the imminent danger, but another sneak attack is now impossible. This MC takes cover, aiming his pistol, and fires a shot that sends one reeling back, but the thug's armor absorbs most of the damage, forcing him to return fire wildly, so the MC aims lower, hitting an unprotected leg. A vulture thug dodges a hail of bullets, as his partner curses his own terrible aim. He realizes their opponent is just a rookie, and orders his subordinate to act as bait. This terrified thug steps out from cover, while Chin Ran weighs his options from the shadows. Knowing if they escape, they will return with an army, he just needs one more effective shot to unlock a crucial new firearms skill, and the system confirms the ability is within reach. This vulture leader opens fire, mocking his marksmanship, but Chin Ran's shot is a perfect vital hit, instantly killing the thug and unlocking his new ability. He turns to the last survivor, who begs for his life, but Chin Ran sees another opportunity to learn. He lunges forward, ready to strike, unlocking a basic hand-to-hand combat skill. Just as he predicted, the system rewards his actions. This woman watches, reminding him vultures deserve no mercy, and he agrees, preparing to interrogate their captive. He sees the thug as just an NPC to farm for skills, pressing the knife against his throat, demanding to know the vulture's lair and numbers. This terrified man reveals their base is a warehouse, but Chin Ran demands secrets, not just public knowledge. This captured vulture spills the details. Their lair is an underground warehouse with 30 men, but Chin Ran does not believe him, pressing the blade closer to his throat. This thug screams in pain, revealing a dark secret. Their boss trades captured women for supplies. Chin Ran's face hardens with disgust, demanding a full layout of the vulture's lair. He sees the vulture boss as a key target, but his ally thinks it is a suicide mission. He argues they have to strike first, before the next wave of attackers arrives. Meanwhile, two guards at the lair get careless, revealing the real threat is a rooftop sniper. Anyone who approaches the entrance is a dead man, but Chin Ran has already neutralized the threat. He loots the rifle, a decent weapon, but it is too conspicuous for a stealth mission. He moves on to the guards below, striking the first one from the shadows. This second thug turns in shock, but it is already too late for him. His stealth skills make the job clean and simple. He notices the base has electricity and finds another guard complaining on duty. This guard is suspicious, demanding answers at gunpoint, so Chin Ran spins a tale about the mission's success, and the guard falls for it hook, line, and sinker, letting him pass while grumbling about missing the fun. But a sudden chill runs down his spine. As Chin Ran's blade finds its mark, he quickly drags the body out of sight, noticing strange markings on the next door. Confirming this must be the vulture boss's room, he knows he has to act fast before anyone else arrives. He gently knocks on the door, announcing that one of the leaders has returned. This door cracks open just a bit, revealing the gaunt vulture boss inside, who asks about his men, confirming he is the target. Chin Ran repeats his lie, noting the boss is surprisingly frail, and the vulture leader chuckles, pleased with the news. But as he turns, Chin Ran slips inside the room, a cold blade pressing against his throat. He strikes without a moment's hesitation, sending the vulture boss stumbling backward, crashing against a nearby shelf. A system notification confirms the kill, a one-hit vital strike. He turns to another person in the room, telling them to be quiet, his eyes landing on a remote on the dresser. A voice on the phone demands good news, threatening dire consequences for failure, but Chin Ran coolly informs him he is too late. This man on the other end explodes with rage, but Chin Ran remains unfazed by the threat. This boss reminds him who holds all the power, so Chin Ran pretends to concede, asking for his demands. This man demands priceless jewels and art by morning. He hangs up, realizing he has picked a fight with a rebel major, a much bigger threat than the vulture boss, but with his real life on the line, he has to take the risk. He turns to the captured woman, telling her to stay quiet, and she nods in terrified agreement. He gently removes the gag from her mouth, telling her they need to find something and get out fast. He spots a large cabinet in the corner and discovers a hidden arsenal inside. He even finds grenades, a powerful new tool, and the priceless jewelry the major wanted, but realizes it cannot be taken out of the dungeon. It is just another rule of this deadly game. Now armed, he is ready to face the thugs outside. He follows the sound of voices to the generator room, spotting the main power supply for the base, and an idea begins to form in his mind. Chin Ran finds the main power switch, and the vultures complain about a faulty machine, sending one unlucky thug to fix it alone. Chin Ran ambushes him with a powerful kick, then rolls 2 grenades into the room, catching the remaining guards completely by surprise. This explosion rips through the warehouse, confirming the kills. He finds a cart to haul his new supplies, but laments that the blast destroyed most of the loot. As he leaves, he notices someone is following him. It is the woman he rescued from the vultures. She introduces herself as Maggie and asks to join his party, offering her skills as a nurse in exchange for protection. Chin Ran sees another opportunity to learn a new skill, and agrees, telling her to keep up. Back at the hideout, Colin is stunned he defeated the vultures, but her expression sours when she sees Maggie. Chin Ran explains she is a nurse and a valuable asset, so Colin offers a cold, suspicious welcome. These two women stare each other down, but Colin quickly focuses on a bigger problem. Realizing he did not just fight vultures, he provoked the rebel army. She panics, insisting they have to flee before dawn, but Chin Ran tries to downplay the threat. Colin warns him that even a mid-level officer is a huge threat. Chin Ran reveals a bag of jewels just as a communicator buzzes to life. He tells Colin he is leaving for a few days. Meanwhile, at a military-style camp, a furious major realizes he has been tricked. He orders a massive search at dawn, but then his own device starts to vibrate, and he immediately orders a trace on the signal. He screams into the phone, enraged at the deception. But Chin Ran calmly asks if he still wants his treasure. This major demands to know his terms, and Chin Ran simply says he wants out of the city. This major agrees to help in exchange for the jewels. So Chin Ran sets the meeting place, the Vulture's own lair. He quickly removes the battery to cut the signal, knowing his enemies are already on their way. Another long day of survival begins. This major gets a lock on his last known location, ordering a team to retrieve the loot at any cost. A van screeches to a halt in the dark streets, and an armed squad disembarks with deadly orders. Their commander organizes them into search parties, sending snipers to take up high positions. From the shadows, Chin Ran watches their professional formation, realizing these new foes are far more dangerous. Chin Ran knows he must take out the sniper first, lining up the shot on the rooftop marksman. He steadies his breathing, pulling the trigger, and a vital point attack takes the man down instantly. This sniper's partner is stunned by the sudden kill, grabbing the heavy machine gun to retaliate, unleashing a hail of bullets as Chin Ran ducks for cover. This commander below demands to know what happened, shocked to hear his sniper is already dead. Just then, another soldier falls beside him, and he orders his men to take cover from the enemy sniper. This remaining rooftop soldier scrambles for the machine gun, but a second perfect shot takes him out too. A soldier reports the machine gunner is also down, so the commander orders his men to lay down, suppressing fire. A stray bullet grazes Chin Ran's leg, and he realizes these opponents are far more skilled. This realistic injury makes him wish he'd learned first aid. Knowing he has to change positions before they find him, he moves just in time, watching them converge on his old spot as the commander's squad storms the building. This commander knows their opponent is a qualified soldier. Wondering if he is facing the government army, he remembers his deal to avoid killing government troops, but decides he has no choice but to follow the major's orders. This squad leader barks out orders, sending his men to secure the high ground. A lone soldier climbs into view, but Chin Ran immediately recognizes the trap. It is classic bait to draw out a sniper. He sees the real threat climbing the ladder, and knows he cannot let them take the sniper point. His shot rings out, catching the soldier by surprise, exposing his position to the men below. They unleash a hail of bullets as the first soldier is taken down. This commander orders his men to keep firing, and a bullet hits Chin Ran, inflicting heavy damage, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. A system notification confirms a moderate injury, and his stats are immediately reduced. He retreats to cover, thankful for his preparations, hoping food will help him recover. He quickly opens a can of supplies, and his health begins to slowly regenerate. Meanwhile, the soldiers complain about their limited arsenal, but their leader reminds them the jewels are the only priority. Chin Ran's health recovers, his injury status improving, and he reloads his rifle, feeling his strength return. The soldiers find his blood trail leading into a dark cave. This rebel squad calls for his surrender, but a sniper's bullet takes down one of their men. This commander roars for his machine gunner to return fire, cursing the major for sending him a coward. From his perch, Chin Ran notes the captain's quick reflexes as the nervous machine gunner finally scrambles into position. He is ordered to hold his ground and provide cover while the captain leads the rest of the team forward. But a sudden burst of gunfire rips through the air and the captain falls, completely stunned. His own machine gunner stands over him, the true killer. A betrayal that even surprises Chin Ran from a distance. He quickly re-aims his rifle at the new threat, but the traitor has already vanished from his scope. Realizing this man is far more dangerous, Chin Ran repositions. Knowing he completely misjudged the soldier's cowardice, he begins to suspect this was a setup by the major just as a gun presses against the back of his head. Chin Ran spins instantly, firing his own pistol, but he only hits a decoy shirt tossed into the air. His magazine clicks empty. He has been played. This traitorous soldier appears above him, now in control. Chin Ran feels trapped, facing death in the beginner's zone, but he grips a grenade, refusing to go down without a fight. This soldier lowers his weapon, claiming he means no harm. This soldier wonders why Chin Ran spared him, offering a deal for the bag of jewels. Chin Ran states his price: safe passage out of the city, but the soldier boasts he serves a general, not just the major. A revelation that stuns Chin Ran, realizing who is really in charge. This soldier presses him for a decision, gun still aimed. So Chin Ran claims he is injured and needs medical aid, and the soldier offers help in exchange for his cooperation. Chin Ran cautiously puts down his weapons, receiving a small medical kit for his troubles. This system details the basic supplies, bandages, and painkillers, but the soldier offers a better deal for the jewel's location. And Chin Ran seems to agree, holding an analgesic. He reaches into his backpack, feigning compliance, but pulls the pin on a hidden grenade instead. He throws the entire bag at his opponent, and the enraged soldier opens fire, realizing the trick. Chin Ran takes heavy damage, his legs disabled, but the painkiller he took keeps him in the fight. This soldier turns, noticing the live grenade, his face twisting in pure terror. This explosion confirms the kill, an elite enemy with high health. A system notification confirms a skill up and a stat boost, and the elite soldier drops a valuable skill book. He's just learned a new active skill track. Back at his camp, the furious major smashes his phone, learning his men were killed in a setup by a rival general. He seethes with rage, vowing to see who dies first, and immediately orders all his soldiers to assemble for war. Meanwhile, at the rival camp, a rooftop guard spots the approaching army, mocking their eagerness to rush to their deaths. But from the shadows, Chin Ran strikes, silencing him instantly. Below, the Major's commander prepares his troops for the confrontation. As General Jennings arrives, annoyed that the Major has come, these two armies face off in a tense standoff until a red dot appears on the General's forehead, and a sniper's bullet takes him down in an instant. At the same moment, another red dot lands on the Major, who also falls to a perfectly aimed shot. With both leaders dead, their armies are thrown into chaos. Each side accuses the other of planting the snipers, and the standoff explodes into an all-out firefight. From his perch, Chin Ran watches his plan unfold perfectly. A system notification confirms his success. The mission is ending early. He is surprised by the sudden change just as a soldier spots him. He hears someone climbing toward his position, and a masked soldier peeks through the window. Chin Ran fires without hesitation, taking the man down. The soldiers below finally spot the sniper, screaming for his death, and one of them takes aim with a rocket launcher. This blast sends Chin Ran flying backward. As rebel soldiers scramble to catch him, he sprints away, pulling off his backpack, lamenting the loss of his precious grenades. He tosses the entire bag at the confused soldiers, and a second explosion rips through their ranks. Meanwhile, Colin comforts a worried Maggie, till a knock at the door startles them. They open it to find Chin Ran badly injured, and he asks Maggie to teach him while she works, but a sudden system alert interrupts them. This beginner dungeon is ending in 5 minutes. He has to choose what gear to take, and Colin asks if he is really leaving them. Suddenly, he is pulled into a strange blue hall, and a new alert warns of a guild war. He has barely arrived and already caught in a conflict, as a final evaluation screen appears before him, confirming an S-grade performance and his rewards. He wonders if game death means real death, choosing the nickname 2567 as he logs in, but upgrading his skills is incredibly expensive, so he decides to sell his rocket launchers for points. He places one on the trading teleporter, setting a high price to test the market. A player named Lawless sends a friend request, immediately complaining about the high price of a rocket launcher. But a notification confirms the item has already sold. Chin Ran is surprised, expecting he'd have to lower the price. Lawless fumes, blaming guilds for price gouging lone wolves, but Chin Ran smirks, pulling out another launcher to sell. Lawless is stunned, and Chin Ran raises the price even higher, so they negotiate a new deal and Lawless heads to his dungeon. With his new points, Chin Ran decides to level up his skills. He upgrades his unarmed combat, choosing to boost his leg strength. A wave of energy flows through him as his skills level up, and he feels a surge of power and new knowledge. This system announces he is ready for the formal dungeons, but back in the real world, he decides to eat first. He casually catches a soccer ball, shocked by his own reflexes. Realizing his in-game stats affect his real-world body, he wonders why the media is silent about these phenomena, deciding the only answers are back in the game. He enters his first official dungeon, receiving new rewards. It was a detective case and a very close call. He feels the power of his new attributes coursing through him. This reward gives him a golden attribute point, a new trump card. He gets a message from a well-known information broker, who offers a generous price for a dungeon run. He checks the team roster, surprised to see Lawless is also on it. A new player asks if he is joining the team, boasting that he is the real master here. But as Chin Ran joins the channel, he senses something is off, and asks a chilling question about logging out of the game. This answer is terrifying: quit for 3 months and you die. This new player tells a story about two friends who both died in freak accidents after trying to leave the game. It is not a coincidence, it is the Grim Reaper coming to collect. He asks if there is any way to escape this nightmare, and learns there is only one person who might have, a terrifying player known only as Witch Cornelia. With a new goal in mind, Chin Ran steals his resolve. Just as the next multiplayer dungeon is announced, he finds himself on a ferry heading toward the mission, where a man named Lawless introduces himself as team leader. Chin Ran sizes him up, a show-off but clearly powerful. Lawless introduces their employer, a young woman named Steinbeck, who confirms this is her 5th dungeon run. Another player, Zhang Wei, joins the introductions, and Chin Ran simply gives his number, 2567. This team is stunned by his low dungeon count but high reputation. So Lawless lays out the mission's ground rules. He needs someone to gather information first, suggesting the most skilled players should take the lead. Seeing an opportunity, Chin Ran immediately volunteers, but Zhang Wei steps up, boasting of his expert combat skills, only for Chin Ran to reveal he is an expert too. Stunned, Zhang Wei shows off his expert evasion skill, but Chin Ran calmly matches him again. Then he reveals a third expert skill, light firearms, leaving Zhang Wei to back down, unwilling to risk his final trump card. Later, the team asks the ship's captain about Alcatel prison, and he tells them a grim story of a kind baron betrayed by refugees. This baron was resurrected, taking bloody revenge on his killers, and a century later, a mysterious illness was only cured by protective talismans. Intrigued, Chin Ran tries to buy one of the talismans from the captain. This team finally arrives at the Alcatel prison dock, where the deputy warden greets them with a stern warning. Another guard reassures them, leading them to their quarters and then to the canteen for a special welcome meal. A lavish feast is spread before them, a gift from the warden. Chin Ran takes a sip of his drink, his expression unreadable, but a strange smell suddenly puts him on high alert. He shouts a warning, knocking the poisoned drinks from their hands. This guard denies everything, demanding a professional verify his claims, and he sends a subordinate to fetch the prison doctor. An older man arrives, carefully inspecting the wine, and Dr. Finks confirms it is laced with deadly wolfsbane. He asks who discovered the poison, surprised by Chin Ran's medical knowledge. Just then, a guard bursts in screaming, the dining hall is full of poisoned victims. An old doctor asks for help with the poisoned victims, triggering a side quest right away. Lawless is impressed by his luck and skill, while Zhang Wei fumes with jealousy. Chin Ran uses a spoon to induce vomiting, clearing the poison from a victim's system. This doctor thanks him for his quick thinking just as a stern-looking deputy warden arrives. He defends Chin Ran's actions, but the deputy warden pulls rank. Suddenly, the real warden appears, this man who hired their team, Warden Siko. Chin Ran asks for a mission briefing, but a sudden gunshot echoes through the hall, and the deputy warden falls dead on the stairs. Chin Ran realizes the poisoning was just a diversion, activating his tracking skill to find the killer. He traces the culprit's escape route, but Zhang Wei uses his own skill, vowing to claim the quest. This warden, enraged, orders a search for the killer, and Chin Ran offers his help, triggering another quest. He confidently points to a guard in the crowd, declaring him the assassin. This warden is in disbelief, but Chin Ran lays out the evidence, describing the killer's every move until the man breaks. This man convulses, foaming at the mouth. Chin Ran rushes in as a side quest completes. The man tried to poison himself. Outside the operating room, they learn the man is alive but unconscious. A rival player fumes, shocked Chin Ran cleared 2 side quests so fast. This employer is relieved but suspects the man had accomplices, and he offers Chin Ran a new quest to hunt them down. This rival player cannot believe it, a 3rd side quest already. This employer finally briefs the entire team on the mission, explaining a cult leader caused mass suicides before his arrest. This leader, Keelfin, was locked away in the infamous Alcatel prison. This employer initially believed Keelfin took his own life in despair, but after his death, a new wave of suicides swept the prison. He asks them to find the truth, appointing a guide named Jack. Lawless suggests they start their investigation at Keelfin's cell, but he volunteers to stay behind while another player just wants to rest. Lawless smirks, leaving Chin Ran to deal with his annoyed rival. Their guide explains the prison's brutal routine, solitary confinement 24/7. He leads Chin Ran to Keelfin's cell, the worst in the facility. Inside, Chin Ran learns Keelfin surrendered willingly with no possessions. He questions why Keelfin would draw blood symbols, then decides to move on. Walking outside, he notices the cell was cleaned too well. Just as their guide mentions, it is the weekly bathing day. An old prisoner tries to strike up a conversation with Chin Ran, but a guard shoves him back, denying him his bath. This guide explains the old man is a master thief, then sends Chin Ran ahead. Chin Ran dismisses the man with a quick goodbye. Walking away, he considers the thief's strange behavior and finds a crumpled note slipped into his pocket. It holds a cryptic message about freedom. When suddenly a massive explosion rocks the prison, catching him completely off guard. A system alert confirms 2 bodyguards are dead, and he realizes the blast came from the surveillance room just as Lawless bursts out, carrying Steinbeck to safety. Confirming her bodyguards died in the blast, a permanent death. This reality of the game hits hard, death here is final. An alarm blares through the prison, announcing a riot, and Chin Ran connects the dots. This was all a setup. He tells Lawless to get Steinbeck out of there, knowing the chaos is a cover for their real target. He finds the assassin Jack about to strike, but the man plays dumb, claiming he is protecting old Tom. Chin Ran is not buying it, revealing the note from the thief. Cornered, Jack admits he is the accomplice, and Chin Ran lays out the whole conspiracy, explaining how Jack tortured prisoners for their loot. Jack rages about the warden's greed and his own meager pay. He tries to bribe Chin Ran, offering all of Tom's money, but our boy answers with a swift kick, disarming him instantly. His knuckles glow with power, revealing a hidden ability, Ghosts. He wonders if this negative energy is just a debuff, but a horde of ghosts suddenly appears before him, and each hit is draining his health fast. He spots their weakness, they are afraid of sunlight, and he seizes the chance to strike back, but more shadowy hands grab at his feet, forcing him to activate Pruse's armor, blasting them away with a wave of light. He reaches the window, confirming the sun is lethal to them. This defeated creature drops a valuable soul crystal, and a smirk crosses Chin Ran's face as he unleashes a fiery explosion of his own. This blast rips open the wall, flooding the hall with sunlight, and he charges in, ready to farm more gems. Lawless points out a demonic pentagram covering the entire prison. Just as another massive explosion rocks the building, from the smoke emerges a possessed Zhang Wei, and a system alert confirms the real Zhang Wei is dead. Lawless explains this is a half-dead man, a powerful possessed corpse, cursing their dead teammate for unleashing this monster. He tells Chin Ran to protect Steinbeck while he handles it, leaping up the wall with incredible strength. But Chin Ran decides to follow, telling Steinbeck to stay put. Seeing a chance to boost his mission score, he arrives to find them gone. He tracks their footprints to a cell, realizing they vanished without a trace. Chin Ran checks the team roster. Lawless is alive, but Zhang Wei is dead. He turns to find Steinbeck climbing up to his position, who insists it is safer to stick with him now. Chin Ran questions her fear, given her immense wealth and power. She blushes, claiming she is just shy around strangers. She offers him 1,000 points for his protection. and he agrees but only if she follows his every command. As a bonus, she gives him a clip of blessed bullets, and he tells her to stay close as they move out. He finds Zhang Wei's tracks, which vanish at a wall, suspecting his rival found a hidden passage. But suddenly he hears footsteps approaching, and he quickly signals for Steinbeck to be quiet. An old prisoner cautiously peeks around the corner, but Qin Ran ambushes him instantly, gun to his head. This man surrenders, claiming he has a protective tattoo, a magic circle to ward off Keelfin's evil spirits. Qin Ran does not buy it, kicking the man to the ground. He pins him down, threatening to get answers one way or another. This man breaks, admitting he is after Keelfin's fortune. He explains the cult leader has more than just a silver tongue. Recalling a time Keelfin walked straight through a solid wall. This ghostly figure warned him to stay away, then vanished. He was stunned to hear Keelfin surrendered, knowing no prison could hold him, so he got himself arrested to uncover the truth. This cornered man tries to bargain for his life, promising valuable information if Qin Ran lets him go. He offers to make a vow, but Qin Ran presses his blade closer, claiming a psychic taught him how to make a binding oath. Qin Ran wonders if a powerful psychic is also involved in this plot, remembering how Zhang Wei fell into a similar trap. He recalls his rival's footprints leading this way, suspecting Zhang Wei was tricked by a vow as well. A flashback reveals Zhang Wei was lured by the thief and possessed by Keelfin. Qin Ran realizes this man is one of Keelfin's pawns and tells Steinbeck he knows how to follow the clues. Their path leads them out of the prison to a seaside cave. Together, they venture into the darkness. Qin Ran picks up a rock, testing for traps, but when nothing happens, he decides to scout ahead alone. He carefully peeks through a crack in a wooden door and hears a slow, powerful, rhythmic sound, a heartbeat. Inside, a bronze coffin hangs suspended by glowing red chains. He spots the possessed Zhang Wei and immediately opens fire. His bullets hit their mark, but the possessed man is unfazed, complaining about Lawless's strength and Qin Ran's life-draining attacks. As a strange force pulls him toward the coffin, Qin Ran makes a choice. He uses his golden attribute point, boosting his strength. This pull weakens and he smirks, seeing an opportunity, but his possessed rival just laughs, promising him nothing but despair. Qin Ran aims his gun, declaring he despises despair. He fires a shot straight into the monster's chest, and a system alert confirms his blessed bullets deal massive damage, but the creature shrugs it off, swinging a monstrous fist. Qin Ran realizes headshots do not work on this thing, and his armor barely absorbs the devastating blow. This monster seems stunned by his resilience, so Qin Ran unloads the rest of his clip into it. He smirks, having finally inflicted a severe injury, but the creature roars, erupting in a furious green aura. This blast shatters Qin Ran's armor instantly, sending him flying, destroying his vest and weakening his stats. Suddenly, glowing chains erupt from the ground, binding him, and a wave of psychic force slams into him. His own blood activates a sacrificial array, crippling him further. A fiery beast then attacks his rival, Zhang Wei, draining his life force to heal the monster. A golden ring drops the spoils of a hard-won victory. With the quest done, he plans to loot the prison's machine guns. He takes a moment to inspect his new reward, a ring that can intimidate and trap foes in illusions. It is a powerful control item tied to his spirit attribute. Back in the real world, he reflects on how this game has changed him. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out his number. It is Lawless. Lawless gets uncomfortably close, already treating him like an old friend. Qin Ran tells him to back off, but Lawless insists they are friends now. They pay 10 points each for their entry tickets, stepping into a bustling underground city, where Lawless greets a man he calls the broker, who offers Qin Ran a special deal: no fees at the secret market. At the market, their soul crystals cause a bidding war. And Qin Ran suddenly feels a strange connection, but he is confused about what he just learned. Lawless explains that spirit items require a chosen one to use, and Qin Ran realizes his own spirit stat makes him one of them. He parts ways with Lawless for now, promising to meet again. Back in his room, he prepares for the next phase, knowing he needs to get stronger for the next dungeon. He checks his skill tree, eyeing a new ability. But a message from Lawless reveals the skills are hard to get. Deciding to wait, he focuses on enhancing his current skills first. He confirms his choice on the system interface, and a surge of power elevates his skills to master level. Several days pass, and it is time for a new mission. His cooldown is over, and a new dungeon begins: Wandering Beasts. This city is plagued by man-eating creatures, and his new role is a journalist tasked with finding the truth. He finds a list of missing people just as a figure lurks nearby. A man runs for his life, screaming about a killer. Cornered in a dead-end alley right in front of Qin Ran, a group of thugs warns Qin Ran to stay out of their business, but he just gives them a knowing smirk. He lands a brutal punch, sending a tooth flying, and mocks the incompetent gangsters for their weakness. Enraged, the remaining thugs draw their weapons, but Qin Ran is faster, taking them down in an instant. This man he saved thanks him profusely, then asks for an escort to his safe house for a reward. Just as he is about to refuse, a side quest finally triggers, forcing him to stop and reconsider. With a grin, he agrees to help the man to the end. In the car, the informant Riley asks if he is a bounty hunter, but Qin Ran just calls himself a journalist, mocking Riley's intel. They pull up to a secluded warehouse, their destination reached. Riley drags one of the captured thugs towards an open manhole, taunting the man before dropping him into the darkness below. He boasts about his safe house, but Chin Ran is unimpressed, reminding him to focus on who sent the assassins. Riley agrees, thanking him again as he prepares the interrogation. A system alert confirms the side quest is complete, but a sudden noise puts Chin Ran on high alert. He grabs a sniper rifle and climbs to a higher vantage point. He takes aim, scanning the road ahead, spotting a convoy of cars speeding toward them. On the roof, he prepares for the next wave of enemies. Chin Ran lines up a shot, a confident smirk on his face. This bullet slams into the lead car's engine, sending it careening into the vehicle beside it, triggering a massive pileup. That ends in a fiery explosion. He watches the wreckage, a system alert confirming the kill. Lawless rushes over to check on him. Stunned that a journalist could pull off such a shot, Chin Ran asks what their captured enemies confessed, and Lawless reveals they were sent by a Mr. Big. But a note reveals the truth: they are actually from Svindik. Lawless panics, realizing they have angered two powerful factions, but Chin Ran grabs his arm, telling him to think. Suddenly, he catches the scent of blood and kicks down the door just as a shot rings out. Inside, their guards lie dead on the floor. Chin Ran immediately starts investigating, finding notes about a terrifying beast-eating human. A news report suddenly frames him and another man for the crimes, and Lawless realizes Svindik has sent their top agent after them. A woman's voice confirms their only lead, the eyewitness, is dead. With Lawless in despair, Chin Ran tells him they need to find someone. He figures their other enemy, Mr. Big, must be interested in them now. They speed off into the night, heading for a new contact. Lawless worries it is a trap, but Chin Ran explains his logic. Lawless is overwhelmed, but Chin Ran has a plan. He asks about the dreadful guy Lawless mentioned, who reveals a city legend, the executioner Kerouac, and Chin Ran's eyes narrow with realization. He tells Lawless their worst fear is waiting just ahead. A hulking figure with a chainsaw blocks their path, and as Lawless panics, Chin Ran steps out to face him. He boldly parries the massive chainsaw with his knife, leaving Lawless stunned by his impossible strength. He realizes Chin Ran must be the city's other legend, a mysterious figure known only as Shadow Sting. Lawless cheers him on as a bullet shatters the windshield, and Chin Ran dodges, moving in for the final blow. His blade finds a weak spot in the executioner's armor, and he stands over his bleeding foe unimpressed. With the legendary killer defeated, he calmly walks away. Back in the car, Lawless calls him Shadow Sting. But Chin Ran's confusion is mistaken for humility. Lawless says they will hide for the night, then meet Mr. Big. They drive deeper into the sprawling city, arriving at a humble barbershop, Mr. Big's lair. As they enter, they see a man lying on the floor, and the room is filled with intimidating figures. A well-dressed barber greets them with a smile, but when Lawless asks for help, he plays dumb. This barber offers a haircut, but it is clearly a test. His friendly mask drops, questioning their audacity, but Chin Ran smirks, claiming they are worthy partners, casually asking for a shave instead. This barber presses a blade to his throat, but Chin Ran does not flinch. Impressed, Mr. Big lights a cigar, ready to talk business. His men laugh, mocking the kid's supposed strength, until Chin Ran reveals he just defeated the executioner. This entire room falls silent, stunned by the news. Mr. Big shares his intel: a beast is eating people, and it is not Svindik. Chin Ran cuts him off, demanding a map to find the clues himself. This crime boss nods, ordering his man to comply. On the map, Chin Ran connects the dots. It is a pentagram. He realizes someone is turning the city into a giant magic circle. Mr. Big demands proof for this wild theory, so Chin Ran points to a spot, predicting the next murder. They speed off to the location he indicated. One of the men warns him about lying to Mr. Big, just as a scout confirms the fifth victim has been found. They witness a spectral beast, a giant chain bear, on a monitor. This boss's man wants to track it, but Chin Ran scoffs at their methods. He takes command, telling them to do it his way, and his instructions lead them straight to a new building. This driver is shocked. They are at the Svindik headquarters. Mr. Big is won over, inviting his new friend to his true home. Mr. Big leads him into a secret elevator, welcoming him to an underground palace. They step into a lavish hall lined with maids, and Chin Ran is impressed by the sheer display of power. Mr. Big changes into a robe, attended by his staff, but Chin Ran senses these women are more than maids, they are bodyguards. Mr. Big offers him a drink, treating him like an honored guest, but then scoffs, doubting a mendicant could be a wizard. Chin Ran just smirks, daring him to test that theory. At his command, two of the maids immediately open fire, but the bullets freeze in midair, inches from their target. Mr. Big and his guards are stunned by this impossible feat. Now humbled, he explains his own investigation into the beast attacks. Chin Ran takes charge, demanding all information on a victim named Paul. This file reveals Paul was an orphan, and only a single hand was ever found. Chin Ran theorizes Paul knew magic, which explains his missing body. Concluding he sacrificed his own arm to control the giant beast. To prove it, he suggests investigating Paul's orphanage for a link to Svindik. Mr. Big confirms the horrific truth: the orphanage sold children to the consortium. With the conspiracy exposed, Mr. Big declares war and asks for his help. He is thrilled when Chin Ran agrees, promising him gifts for the fight ahead. In a private armory, he offers a full arsenal of weapons, including a special blade that once belonged to the legendary Shadow Sting. Later, in a car, Mr. Big and his crew prepare to launch their attack. His subordinate boasts that tonight they will rule the city. But Mr. Big turns to Chin Ran, questioning why everything is going so smoothly. Chin Ran senses something approaching, bracing for the worst. A monstrous bear stands over a fallen man, but Chin Ran is ready to fight. He takes aim with a confident smirk, lining up the perfect shot. but the bullet harmlessly bounces off its thick hide. This enraged beast thunders toward him, ready to tear him apart. Inside, Lawless worries, but Mr. Big has faith in Chin Ran's strength. As the monster roars, Chin Ran decides to take a huge gamble, shoving his rifle barrel straight into its gaping maw. This resulting blast obliterates its head, sending him flying back. His allies celebrate the victory, but Chin Ran warns them it is not over. From the shadows, a new observer praises his calm under pressure. This man reveals a magic array has been activated, sealing their fate. He admits to using Sphinx's power for his own sinister plan, and Chin Ran notes the dark sacrifice he made to obtain it. This villain boasts that trading an arm was a small price for invincibility, arrogantly offering Chin Ran 3 free shots as a welcome gift. With a grin, our boy graciously accepts the challenge. But the man just drops 3 bullet casings at his feet, then declares the shots are over, preparing a final attack. Chin Ran yells for Riley to throw him the gear, and his ally tosses him a heavy case. He pulls out a rocket launcher ready to return fire. This rocket screams toward the stunned villain, engulfing him in a massive explosion. But he emerges from the smoke completely unscathed, mocking the attack. This barber mocks him, saying only the true Shadow Sting can use his blade. He unleashes a wave of dark energy, declaring it is time to end this. Chin Ran struggles to parry the relentless assault, taking heavy damage as his health plummets below half. But in a desperate lunge, he drives his dagger forward, burying it deep in the barber's chest. This man dissolves into spirits, leaving behind unexpected gains. A system alert gives him 5 minutes to loot before exiting the dungeon. He knows the blade is a quest item, but the other drops are his to keep. He scrambles to grab every valuable gem he can find. Emerging from the dungeon, he is now armed with a rocket launcher. Back in his room, he realizes he needs a potion-making skill to learn new abilities. He opens his system interface to contact a friend, and Lawless warns him not to sell his loot to the broker, suggesting a tavern instead. They meet at a remote train station under the full moon. Lawless introduces him to Rachel, the tavern's owner. She welcomes him with a free drink, thanking him for the business. Rachel explains she's gathered buyers for his gear, and a bidding war immediately breaks out for his rocket launcher and crystals. But across the room, Chin Ran spots a familiar face. He asks Lawless about getting enchanted gear and a potion-making book. He approaches a woman in a witch hat, offering to buy the book from her. She cannot help with the book, but offers to enchant his sniper rifle instead. Just then, the man from the crowd offers to sell him the book he needs, handing him a note with an address and a strange aura. Chin Ran follows the man, sensing this is a trap, but he is calm, ready for whatever comes next. This swordsman greets him, saying the book is stashed nearby, leading him down a dark, secluded alley, and our boy smirks, knowing he has been deliberately lured here. This man's sword begins to glow with dark energy, and he lunges forward in a surprise attack. But Chin Ran is ready, deflecting the blade with a kick. This attacker is stunned, and Chin Ran mocks his clumsy deception. This man boasts that killing is more profitable, but Chin Ran agrees. He stomps down hard, pinning the man's sword to the ground. This swordsman cannot believe a newbie has this much power. Chin Ran taunts him, saying he upgraded his skills for this very moment. Enraged, the man unleashes a blast of purple energy, lunging forward for a final, desperate strike. But Chin Ran easily dodges, driving a knee into his gut. This would-be killer is sent flying, defeated in an instant. Standing over the body, Chin Ran spots a pleasant surprise. He takes a key, unlocking a hidden stash room full of loot. Inside a case, he discovers a valuable scroll. He grins, holding up his unexpected prize. This must be all the gear the man stole from his victims. He then notices something else hidden under a white sheet, pulling the cover away, and is shocked by the powerful aura emanating from within. Chin Ran pins his own photo to a strange board, joining a list of other players, some already crossed out. He confirms his own face is now on the board, when Lawless suddenly bursts in, worried about his safety. He points to a crossed-out photo, a killer Chin Ran already handled, and then to another, a beta player who was assassinated. Lawless suspects a powerful guild is behind the killings. And while he investigates, Chin Ran plans for the next dungeon. Later, in a quiet room, he prepares for what is next, messaging Lawless, who finds him some affordable gear. He is ready for a special dungeon, eager to uncover its secrets. A system alert confirms his entry into a special solo dungeon, his new mission to serve as a psychic's assistant. This letter details his first test, warning of other competitors, but our boy just smirks, welcoming the challenge. He arrives at the designated address, a gloomy-looking house. A nearby board is covered in warnings about the haunted street, confirming his suspicions that this place is special. He approaches the entrance, an ominous bird flying overhead. A ghoulish creature with glowing eyes greets him at the door, but Chin Ran remains completely unfazed. He has clearly seen worse than a simple ghoul, and makes himself comfortable on the couch. Suddenly, the lights flick on, revealing him already inside. And a woman stares in shock, stunned by his presence. A young woman points accusingly, asking if he is not afraid. But Chin Ran just smirks, calling out her childish traps. Defeated, she introduces herself as his competitor, Ellie Jones. Just then, a flashy man named Derek arrives, also a competitor. Ellie sulks, annoyed that her brilliant idea failed, and another candidate arrives, a doctor named Sydney. Suddenly, Ellie gasps in shock as a new arrival enters the room. It is a man covered in bandages named Raoul, who claims he is just another guest. With no instructions, they decide to rest for the night, hoping for answers after dawn. Later that night, a sudden scream shatters the silence. and Ellie points down the hall saying it came from Raoul's room. They rush inside to find Raoul injured, but the doctor says he can handle it. Chin Ran declares it is too dangerous to be alone, ordering them to the lobby. They help the wounded Raoul downstairs to the main lobby, where Chin Ran immediately asks who attacked him. This bandaged man looks up, his eyes wide with fear. It was Derek. Ellie is stunned, asking where the attacker went, but Chin Ran just tells them to look at the front gate. In the doorway, Derek's body is hanging lifelessly, and Ellie screams in terror, convinced evil spirits are at work. She panics, asking Chin Ran what they should do, wondering if they should flee or call for help. But Chin Ran calmly tells her this is not the work of spirits at all. Chin Ran dismisses the ghost story as a clever diversion, telling his companion the real killer is still among them. He leads her into a room where the others are waiting, then suddenly shoves one of the men to the ground. This man lands before a doctor and a bandaged figure, and Chin Ran smirks, mocking their feigned surprise. This doctor furiously denies any involvement, but Chin Ran begins to lay out their entire plan, how they quietly strangled their target, Derek. Then stage the scene to look like a spirit attack. This doctor demands proof, calling it all conjecture. So Chin Ran points out all the suspicious inconsistencies. This man is left cornered and speechless. As Chin Ran reveals the doctor's gaze was not of a stranger but of a lover, he drops the final bombshell: the bandaged Raoul is a woman. Defeated, the doctor tells his partner they have been exposed. Raoul reveals a fire destroyed her appearance, blaming Derek for it all. Confused by the turn of events, Chin Ran asks for the full story. This doctor recounts their tragic past from 5 years ago, when Derek accused Raoul of being possessed by a spirit and convinced the villagers to let him burn her. They had hunted him for years, seeking revenge, and the psychic's invitation was their only chance. As the woman pleads for mercy, Chin Ran's focus shifts, because Derek's body is suddenly erupting with a monstrous dark energy. A monstrous blue spirit erupts from Derek's body and explodes in a blinding flash of light. A cat emerges from a glowing doorway which Ellie recognizes. It is the famous psychic's pet, Teach. Ellie urges them to follow, believing it is a guide, and they are met by a ghostly butler with flaming legs. This spirit guide gestures toward a large, well-lit mansion, and Ellie confirms this must be the psychic's home. This cat and the butler lead them inside, holding the door for the remaining candidates. This butler introduces a woman named Filet, then dismisses the others, leaving Chin Ran alone for a private meeting. Suddenly, the woman throws a small object at him, which he easily catches in his hand. It is a badge. She declares he has passed the test and is now her assistant. This psychic, Lei, reveals she knows about his past exploits and tells him he is the key to unlocking a great secret. Later, the ghostly butler invites him to breakfast with Lei. She announces she is leaving but offers him her study to train. With a final word, she departs, leaving him to his own devices. While studying, Chin Ran is interrupted by a knock at the door, and a sheriff enters looking for the psychic. Chin Ran confidently offers his services as her assistant. Soon after, he is in a police car being handed a case file. He reads about a killer called the Heart Extractor and its 5 victims. Police have secured a new crime scene, and Chin Ran takes charge, demanding a map of the victims. This officer quickly scrambles to fulfill his request, but the locations on the map seem completely random. A report comes in: the victim had 1 wound to the chest, and Chin Ran recognizes the killer's signature, the Heart Extractor. He notices a specific set of footprints appearing repeatedly, deducing the killer was someone close to the victim. He hands over a sketch of the print, solving the case on the spot. Later, a butler shows him to a study to rest and eat, but his meal is interrupted by an officer with good news. They have caught the killer, confirming his vendetta theory. Chin Ran knows there is more, and the officer admits there is a new case. Wiping his mouth, he is eager to get back to work. Their investigation takes them straight to the city morgue. He is shown the body of a taxi driver named Monty, where the only prints belong to a boy who vanished a decade ago. With a snap of his fingers, Chin Ran connects the dots, suggesting the boy was kidnapped and is now getting revenge. Confident in his theory, he decides to visit the crime scene. This officer leads him to the victim's home, hinting at something strange. Inside, the room is spotless except for a single bloodstain. This officer confirms the scene has not been tampered with, leading Chin Ran to realize this is not where the murder happened. He spots a family photo on the desk, a new clue emerging. This officer explains a man named Rock got revenge on his kidnapper, then points to Rock's parents' house to investigate, and Chin Ran reminds him to be gentle with them. But as the officer walks away, the world distorts, and Chin Ran suddenly feels a wave of dizziness. He realizes instantly that it is an ambush, his eyes catching the reflection of a monstrous attacker. A shadowy creature rushes toward him from the darkness, its face a mask of red eyes and jagged teeth. This monster lunges forward with a terrifying screech, but a system alert confirms it is just a harmless illusion. Even so, the phantom creature continues its charge, so Chin Ran leaps forward with a fiery kick. His attack obliterates the spirit, dealing triple damage. This officer returns, hearing the commotion, and stares in shock as the monster's body dissolves. He reports that Rock confessed to everything without a fight. Chin Ran follows them upstairs to meet Rock's parents, where the officer promises Rock will get a fair trial. They all drive off in a police car down a quiet road, with Chin Ran and Rock sitting silently in the back. Chin Ran notices Rock's hands resting calmly in his lap, concluding the man is highly skilled with a blade. Just then, the officer gets a frantic call and curses in shock, and Chin Ran immediately lunges forward, knocking Rock out cold. a man named Rock screams in terror inside a car, reliving the moment his parents died in a fiery crash. Chin-ran tries to pull him from the traumatic vision, as their police escort is suddenly ambushed by armed men, and an officer takes cover wondering where Rock has gone. He tells Chin-ran to stay hidden while he checks the scene, but he steps out into a shocking sight. Rock stands over a fallen enemy, sword raised for the kill. Chin-ran screams for him to stop the execution, insisting they need one of the attackers alive for questioning, but Rock is lost to rage, muttering only of revenge. And the officer realizes he has lost his sanity and needs help. They take the unstable Rock back to the police station, where another prisoner is found dead in his cell, a notorious killer slain by an invisible assailant. Just then, an urgent call comes in for Chin-ran. This officer hands him the phone, saying the psychic is on the line. Chin-ran takes the call, ready for his orders, and the psychic reveals the killers are all part of a new organization, a mysterious group called the Wanderer Society. He is impressed by her power, confirming her vision is correct, but she gives him a dire warning: get everyone out of the station now. Her crystal ball shows the society's main force is on its way, so Chin-ran relays the threat, urging Officer Ski to order an evacuation. But the officer returns defeated. His chief thinks it is all nonsense. With no other choice, Chin-ran decides to fight, facing down the enemy leader and his shadowy army. This man threatens him and the psychic, offering a final chance to flee. But Chin-ran just scoffs, leaping straight into the fray. He unleashes a devastating kick, telling them to die. His blade cuts through the shadowy monsters with ease, and even surrounded, he shows no fear at all. He unleashes his fiery kicks, tearing through their ranks, leaving their leader stunned by his impossible strength. Chin-ran holds a blade to his throat, reminding him of the rules, and declares the man will pay the price for his actions. With his last breath, the man delivers a cryptic warning, leaving Chin-ran to wonder what he meant. Meanwhile, the police chief is panicking, ready to run for his life, but Officer Ski calmly points out the window. The threat is already gone. Later, after some rest, Chin-ran wakes up, and the ghostly butler invites him to breakfast with Lei. He apologizes for disobeying orders, but she praises his combat skill. As a reward, she offers him a chance to learn potion making, and Chin-ran asks about this new person, Simons. Lei explains that she does not have subordinates, only partners. He heads to the designated location, Saint's Garden. He enters the shop, announcing he was sent by Lei, peeking into a back room and calling out again, and finds an injured man urging him to escape an attack. A hand suddenly grabs Chin-ran's shoulder, and a man says they need his help with a bronze coffin. Chin-ran tells him to let go so they can talk, but the man insists they come with him now, his eyes flashing with cold intent. So Chin-ran grabs the other man and makes a break for it, taunting his pursuer that he is not going anywhere. His new companion reveals a secret passage, leading them down into the sewers. He identifies their attacker as Wilk, a killer from the Night Demon Society, but Chin-ran suddenly stops in his tracks, as his companion urges him to seek safety with Lei, because Wilk is already waiting for them at the exit, looking thoroughly unimpressed with their escape attempt. Chin-ran tells the man to run for help while he holds Wilk off. He shoves his companion to safety, facing the killer alone. Enraged, Wilk unleashes a storm of crystal shards, and Chin-ran dodges desperately through the barrage, but one of the spikes still pierces his shoulder. Wilk sneers, telling him there is no escape now, but our boy has a surprise of his own. Pulling the pin on a grenade with a defiant grin, he tosses not one but two explosives at the killer, and Wilk can only stare in disbelief at this madman. This entire alley erupts in a massive explosion. A man in overalls points to a manhole cover on the ground, telling Lei that Chin-ran saved him and he cannot live with himself if he is hurt. Suddenly, the manhole cover shifts, a hand reaching out, and Chin-ran emerges, bruised but defiant. This man rushes over, relieved to see he is alive. A tear in his jacket reveals the armor he wore underneath, and Lei scolds him for taking such a reckless risk. But Chin-ran just grins, saying he had to take the gamble. She orders him to come with them to recover, his mission complete. Later, he enters a study, surprising a familiar face. It is Ellie, who asks why he is out of bed against Lei's orders. He brushes it off, asking how she and the others have been. She explains Raoul and Sydney have left to start new lives, then says the butler has invited him to a cafe across the street. Chin-ran arrives at the cafe, greeting the man waiting for him. This older man smiles, saying it is good to see him again. Chin-ran is shocked, recognizing the man from a past encounter. This man reveals he has somehow become the leader of a local cult, and now his followers are suffering from the backlash of evil powers. Chin-ran asks if he took the position just to help them. The man begs him for a favor, take him to Alcatel Island. Chin-ran listens silently, considering the strange request. His mind races, connecting the dots: the doctor, the cult, the bronze coffin. He senses something is wrong, that this doctor thinks has a hidden motive. He tells the man he needs time to think, refusing to make any promises. This old man pleads with Chin-ran to reconsider his offer, and with a final word he takes his leave. Chin-ran just sips his drink, watching him go. Later, back at the psychic's mansion, he asks the butler Simons where Lei has gone. Simons explains she has disappeared again, leaving Chin-ran annoyed. He asks the butler to use Lei's influence to investigate Finks. Simons agrees, offering to teach him potion making in return, and our boy is thrilled. It is exactly the skill he needs. And so the training begins. Simons starts with the basics of magical creatures, and Chin-ran tries his hand at mixing potions. His first attempt ends in a small explosion, earning him a scolding from his new mentor. Sometime later, Simons has good news and bad news. This good news is Chin Ran has mastered the basics, but the bad news is the investigation on Finks hit a dead end. Just then, the ghostly butler appears with a message: a guest is waiting. Chin Ran goes to the living room to meet them, where a man introduces himself as Horthdeer from the Dark Star Society. He asks Chin Ran to return to Alcatel Island, explaining a bronze coffin there can only be opened by him. Suddenly, Finks appears offering to join the expedition. Chin Ran immediately suspects he's been set up as Horthdeer leaves the final decision in his hands. Chin Ran's instincts scream that something is wrong, and he turns to consult with Lei before deciding, but the ghostly butler announces she is already waiting. In her study, he asks for her guidance on the mission, and Lei praises his work, urging him to accept the quest. A system alert confirms it: a new main quest has unlocked. She promises to watch over him through her crystal ball, but just as he is about to agree, he hesitates, and Lei confirms his suspicion with a knowing smile. He was right all along. Finks and Horthdeer are working together. Before he leaves, Simon stops him for a moment, offering a case of potions for the dangerous journey ahead. Chin Ran thanks him as Simons gives a final, caring warning. And with a wave, our boy heads off to meet his escorts. Horthdeer questions Lei's motives for sending him, but Chin Ran just cuts him off, ready to depart. His allies wave goodbye from the shore, wishing him well. Their boat cuts through the water toward Alcatel Island, and Chin Ran knows his companions are planning a betrayal. As they dock, Horthdeer's man announces their arrival. These two men turn to him with sinister expressions, so Chin Ran creates a distraction, pointing behind them. They fall for the trick, turning around in confusion, giving him just enough time to use an underwater breathing potion. He smashes another vial and activates a magic ring, ready to fight. Chin Ran unleashes a barrage of crystal shards, and Finks recognizes the weapon of a night demon. Realizing the trap, Chin Ran dives overboard, forcing a furious Finks to leap in after him. He crashes into the water with a massive splash, emerging with glowing red eyes and a sinister grin, revealing he has been possessed by a powerful soul. But Chin Ran has a plan, using a diving potion from Simons, until a shadow chain suddenly snares his ankle. He is yanked from the water, his escape cut short as the possessed Finks vows to torture him slowly. Hanging helpless, Chin Ran knows his potion is running out, so he launches another desperate counterattack. He pulls out a special gun, a gift from an old friend, and unleashes its power with a deafening blast. This blessed bullets tear into his enemy's back, piercing straight through his magical defenses. Enraged and wounded, the spirit vows to take Chin Ran with him, and our boy realizes his foe is about to self-destruct. A massive explosion of energy erupts from the water, sending Chin Ran flying through the air. Back on the boat, Horthdeer curses their failure as the waves crash on a desolate shore. Elsewhere, armed guards stand watch over a secret base, where Horthdeer reports the coffin is now a top priority. Horthdeer taunts him about his lost allies, but Chin Ran appears from behind, plunging a blade into his back. This man dies without answers, his fate sealed, but Chin Ran senses a new presence behind him. A red-haired man appears, radiating a powerful aura, and Chin Ran identifies him as the society's president. This president glares, promising to punish his insolence. With a single gesture, he binds Chin Ran in chains, leaving our boy completely paralyzed and struggling to move. Just then, a familiar meow echoes through the hall, and Teach the cat arrives to defend his child. Chin Ran is stunned. The cat can actually talk. This president seethes, refusing to be stopped by Lei's pet, but Teach warns him not to get cocky just because of their alliance. This cat offers a chilling threat, eager for a meal, and the powerful president is actually scared away. Teach then delivers a message from Lei about the coffin's contents, leaving Chin Ran to ponder the cryptic warning. He turns back, but the cat has already vanished. A system alert gives him 5 minutes to escape the island, so he races back to the bronze coffin, prying open the lid with all his might. Back in his room, he examines his prize, a strange heart, which the system identifies as a demon's heart. He recalls Lei's warning, realizing he cannot control its power yet. Chin Ran reviews his latest dungeon rewards, earning himself a new special dungeon, Psychic Companion 2. This mission brief explains 2 years have passed in-game, and he realizes Lei's disappearance must be connected to a larger event. Just then, a private message alert appears on his screen, leading him to a place called the Bountiful Tavern. He enters and greets the bartender, Rachel, by name. She gestures for him to head further inside, where a man at a table waves him over, calling out his player number. Chin Ran takes a seat with the familiar face. This man explains Rachel is angry because the recent assassination attempt has everyone on edge. He then gets to the point: he wants to hire Chin Ran for a dungeon. He shows them his special mission, a prison escape from the Merc Kingdom. Hans explains he was arrested right after his last mission, and now he needs their help to break out of a heavily guarded prison. Chin Ran points out they will have no gear, so he asks about the reward. Hans offers a rare orange-grade skill book, Foot Blade. This reward is generous, and his other companion is already on board. Seeing the value in the offer, Chin Ran agrees to the deal. Hans calls for celebratory drinks from the bar, but Rachel is furious, doubling their prices and his debt. He begs for a payment plan, but she flatly refuses. Chin Ran and his new partner just laugh at his expense. Later, Chin Ran arrives back at his in-game house. He senses danger, drawing his gun and demanding the intruder show themselves. An attacker lunges from the shadows, but Chin Ran realizes it is a deliberate trap, an ambush waiting for him on the right. This attacker panics, seeing his plan has failed, and a single shot takes him down for good. A second man screams, swinging a heavy chain weapon, but Chin Ran catches the chain with one hand. This attacker immediately begs for his life, and the system confirms another self-defense kill. Suddenly, the wall behind him explodes into rubble, forcing him to take cover with a sniper rifle. He realizes this is a team using heavy artillery. As a massive bullet hurtles right toward him, he dodges the barrage of incoming fire, catching his breath, unable to spot his assailants. He knows he cannot keep this up when two armored figures appear. They tell him to remain calm, promising to ensure his safety, showing a holographic feed of them capturing the attackers. But instead of arresting them, they execute the entire squad, declaring him safe and eligible for compensation. He gains 15,000 points, finally understanding honor kill rewards. Just then, Hans arrives, having received his message. He stops Chin Ran, warning of more trouble at the door. Hans sweeps the ground with a detector, finding a trap, and reveals he disarmed two landmines planted outside. He deduces the second group was a team using artillery, and his partner identifies them as the infamous Inferno team, telling Chin Ran to log off and rest for the night. But as they part ways, a new man approaches, and Chin Ran immediately asks what he wants. His partner tells the stranger to stop lurking and speak up, but Chin Ran's instincts are already screaming danger. This man lunges, shouting for them to die, triggering a massive, fiery explosion. They survive the blast, but their attacker is gone, disappearing into a glitch of digital light. His partner wants to give chase, but Chin Ran holds him back, and they share a laugh, bonded by the mission. Later, after logging off and back on, Chin Ran prepares for the gearless prison mission. This team confirms they are ready to begin, and he spawns inside a dark cell, already injured and chained. A system alert confirms all his items are gone, but he reveals a hidden key he smuggled in. It is an uncomfortable trick, but it works, freeing himself from the heavy iron cuffs. Just then he hears footsteps approaching the cell. A guard announces his interrogator, Lord Ridrel. This man grabs him, demanding to know where the stolen heirloom is, but Chin Ran's silence only angers his captors. Chin Ran watches as a guard suddenly stabs a blonde prisoner, and another man screams in terror as the victim collapses, only for the guard to stab him in the back as well. This armored killer pulls his blade free without a word, confirming he is not on anyone's side here. So Chin Ran leaps forward, delivering a brutal kick, sending the assassin crashing to the ground. He pins the man down, demanding answers about his mission, but the killer takes poison, a fanatic to the very end. With no leads, Chin Ran knows he has to find his partners now. He takes a lantern and searches the empty prison floor, until he finds his companion, Lawless, calling out his player number. Together they search the dark, desolate halls of the prison, concluding that Hans must be imprisoned somewhere else. Chin Ran lays out a three-step plan: find medicine, locate Hans, and create chaos. Lawless agrees to cause a diversion while Chin Ran finds supplies. They put on disguises, ready to infiltrate the castle. Chin Ran, now a nobleman, orders a nervous guard to open a door. Meanwhile, a general arrives to interrogate the prisoners, only to find the bodies and realize they have been tricked by fugitives. He examines the wound on the guard's body, deducing the complex chain of events that led to the deaths. This duke's son has been assassinated while the duke is at war, and he orders the entire castle sealed to capture the fugitives. But at that moment, a guard reports a fire in the warehouse. The diversion has begun. An advisor named Ferlin mocks the commander's hesitation, but the commander questions his motives, and Ferlin offers his assistance. Elsewhere, Chin Ran watches a chapel burn, deciding to add to the chaos. He spots the duke's elite gifted squad marching in, knowing he cannot afford to be caught by them. His plan is to set another fire as a diversion. He slips quietly through a nearby door, but stops short at the sight before him. Bodies litter the floor, and he knows someone else is here. Suddenly, Advisor Ferlin is stabbed from behind by a masked assassin, who drops a lit object before vanishing into the shadows. Chin Ran realizes this situation is far more complicated now. He decides to use the chaos as his chance to escape. Outside, the commander rages at his men for underestimating the threat. This elite archery squad stands at the ready, awaiting orders. This commander desperately calls for Captain Jock's help, but the captain reveals his orders came from Advisor Ferlin alone. This commander demands to know where the advisor is, just as a guard reports the hall is on fire and Ferlin is dead inside. Both men are stunned by the sudden turn of events, when a door explodes outward from the burning building. This commander screams a warning of an enemy attack. As Hans bursts through the doorway, ready for a fight, he scoffs at the archers taking aim at him, while Captain Jock draws his bow, preparing the perfect shot. Hans deflects a volley of arrows with his sword as the archers let loose another barrage, but he weaves through the deadly projectiles, leaving an enraged Captain Jock to order the pursuit. This commander sends his own squad after the thief as well. Hans slips away, finding Chin Ran in a quiet room. He confirms he is fine and has found some useful supplies, revealing bandages and a potent healing ointment. Lawless joins them, noting that Advisor Ferlin was a major obstacle, and he asks if Chin Ran was the one who took him out. Chin Ran clarifies it was the masked assassin, warning of his speed. Lawless is thrilled by the new challenge, but Chin Ran just wants it over. Suddenly, an alert flashes and Chin Ran signals for silence, as two guards prepare to set another fire nearby. Lawless moves in from behind, silencing them both in an instant. They quickly loot the bodies, finding some rebel armor. And they happily equip the new gear better than nothing. Lawless suddenly triggers a new side quest. A rebellion has begun. Ran realizes the fires are part of a rebel uprising, adding another dangerous faction to the mix. He lays out his plan to find Hands, knowing their cover story limits who can interrogate them. Their target is the Grand Duke's second son, Legrand. As they sneak through the courtyard, Lawless asks for directions, but Ran reveals he memorized the map Hands provided. Lawless praises his memory, but Ran senses something is wrong. As they spot rebels attacking the Duke's second son, just before the elite gift squad arrives on the scene, this archers unleash a volley of flaming arrows and the rebel forces are quickly forced to retreat. Ran is suspicious, knowing the rebellion was far too weak. Suddenly, the ground trembles as the main event begins. A colossal armored rhino smashes into the courtyard. This castle's defenses fire a massive bolt at the beast, but the arrows just bounce off its impenetrable hide. These guards will not be able to hold it for long. Using the chaos as cover, they activate stealth mode to find Hands. Ran quietly scales a nearby wall, knowing his stealth will not fool true experts. He peeks through a window and finally spots him. Hands is tied up inside, but before he can act, a dagger flies through the air, aimed directly at his chest. He deflects the blade with his gauntlet, revealing a blonde officer who calls him an accomplice. This officer lunges forward, ready to strike him down, his sword impossibly fast, landing a serious wound on Ran's arm, but our boy finds an opening, kicking his opponent's wrist, and the officer curses as Ran tries to escape. Suddenly, Lawless appears right behind him with a smirk, delivering a devastating kick to the officer's head. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. This pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. Captain Jock takes aim with his bow, while Ran is chased by a massive rhino urged to run for the gate. He glances back, the beast closing in fast, when Hands suddenly leaps into action, infuriating the archer with his bold move. He twists in midair, using an arrow as a foothold, a move that leaves Captain Jock stunned. This captain cannot believe his eyes, realizing the skill is a double-edged sword. Hands uses the momentum to vault onto a horse, as Ran calls for his team to ride out, but from the shadows a hidden enemy watches them flee. They race through the Pilgrim Forest, nearing the kingdom's border. Lawless suggests they stop to rest their horses, and Ran agrees to a short break. Hands reveals his captor was likely the Duke's swordmaster Stagner, and Ran connects him to the rebels through his rhino summon. A system alert confirms they have completed a side quest by killing rebels. For now, they decide to focus on relaxing, hoping their pursuers are far behind them. This team settles in for a much-needed break, but their rest is cut short by the Duke's Gale Knights. Lawless volunteers to stay behind and hold them off, and Ran tells Hands to escape while they create a diversion. As Hands rides away, the two turn to face the enemy, completely surrounded. The Gale Knights charge forward on horseback, and Ran readies his spear for the impact, taking down the first knight with a brutal strike. Lawless follows suit, cutting down another pursuer, but the knights suddenly pull back into the woods. It is an ambush, arrows rain down from the trees, forcing Ran to call for a retreat into the dense forest, but the knights have already anticipated their move, so Lawless activates a barbaric charge skill to break their line. He pulls Ran onto his horse, telling him to mount up. As they ride, Ran says he will stay behind as a diversion, but Lawless refuses, so Ran forces the issue, slapping the horse onward, watching his partner ride away, promising to be safe. His plan is to wait them out and find a chance to escape. But signal flares light up the sky, calling for reinforcements. A system alert confirms the side quest is complete with an excellent rating. But a new alert warns of more pursuers, possibly Stagner and the assassin. He knows running further is a death sentence, so he decides to backtrack toward the castle instead. He waits outside the walls until nightfall, planning his next move. Suddenly, he hears footsteps nearby and spots a knight named Grattan meeting a hooded figure in secret. Grattan pleads with the cloaked person, asking who is forcing their hand, but the figure responds with a blade to the chest. leaving Grattan to die whispering an apology. A blonde nobleman hears a sound, drawing his sword, and Chin Ran freezes in the bushes, realizing he has been spotted. But another man appears, calling the noble Lord Mortal. It is Ferlin, who should be dead. Chin Ran connects the dots. This is the Duke's eldest son. Mortal denies everything, insisting he has no reason to rebel. But Ferlin offers a chilling motive. What if he is not the true heir? This accusation hits a nerve, and Mortal lunges in fury. He decides to fake a surrender, hoping for a chance to strike later. Ferlin accepts, grabbing his arm with a sinister smile. And as they leave, Chin Ran knows he is about to face the Duke himself. Later, Mortal is tied to a post awaiting judgment. A blade swings down and he screams for it to stop. As the legendary Merc Duke appears, sword in hand, Mortal pleads for his life, but the Duke demands to know why his own son betrayed him. He grabs the boy, convinced he is too weak to have acted alone. From the trees, Chin Ran spots the true culprit, the swordmaster Stagner. Stagner admits he hoped for a better ruler, knowing the Duke's other sons were just as cruel as their father. He explains that fate revealed a terrible secret to him, and he tells the Duke the truth: Mortal is not his biological son. This Duke realizes the entire rebellion was a plot to put Mortal on the throne. Stagner suddenly drops to his knees before the Duke, begging him to spare Mortal's life in exchange for his own. This Duke agrees on one condition: Stagner must end his own life right now. An advisor questions the Duke's decision, but the Duke is unconcerned. Suddenly, the advisor lunges with a sword, screaming for someone to die, but he is impaled by an assassin he was trying to kill. He realizes something is terribly wrong as the blade pierces through him, and he desperately begs the Duke for help. This Duke is struck as well, and the advisor realizes he was a decoy. A system log confirms the Duke is near death, and a side quest is complete. This dying advisor rewards Chin Ran for his part in the plan, handing him a legendary accessory, the Lionheart King. A legendary item for a good deed, a truly extraordinary reward. This wounded Duke curses at Chin Ran from the ground, but our boy finishes the brutal ruler for good. Killing the Duke ends the main quest early with a high evaluation. And Chin Ran leaves the heirloom ring behind, stepping into a portal. This advisor's final words urge the next ruler to be better. Chin Ran is teleported from the dungeon, his mission complete. He is disappointed by the lack of items but receives a massive point reward. He immediately uses a skill book to level up his stealth, already planning how to spend his new points on other skills. Just then, a notification pops up, 2 unread messages. It is Lawless and Hans inviting him to the Harvest Tavern. He arrives to find his teammates already waiting for him. Lawless announces a celebration on Hans's dime, much to his dismay. And Hans jokingly complains about his freeloading friends. He even asks the tavern owner if they can work to pay the bill. A grim offer is made for payment. This boss lady wants a hand for her special menu. This men at the table sit in stunned silence, but Chin Ran changes the subject, asking Lawless about skills. This question triggers a flash of dark energy from Lawless, who quickly apologizes for losing his composure. Chin Ran realizes his friend has a brutal history. Lawless reveals their tail is back and has kidnapped an ally, and they ask the boss lady to identify a clue from a screenshot. But with no leads, Chin Ran decides they must go themselves. Lawless splits the team, leading a group to the site. This small squad heads out into the city streets, led by a guide in a suit who knows the way. A system message flashes across the screen, as the street below fills with ghostly apparitions. Lawless orders them to clear the wandering souls first, and the spirits are quickly vanquished. Suddenly, they spot a lone figure watching them, identifying him as the infamous Black Hell Ban Ning. Chin Ran realizes he is a top-tier mercenary for hire. Lawless cuts the chatter, asking Chin Ran for 10 seconds just as a massive horde of souls appears. Chin Ran agrees, gathering golden light in his hands, preparing to face the overwhelming numbers alone. This spectral tide crashes over them, a desperate cry lost in the chaos. Lawless's weapon fully charges with energy, and Chin Ran sees the shadowy assassin is still standing. This spectral assassin lunges at one of their allies, who lets out a cry of pain as his weapon shatters from the powerful blow. His teammates do not recognize the attacker's name, and with no leads, they decide to regroup at the tavern. Back at the tavern, a man in a suit approaches them with a deal, revealing he knows the location of their kidnapped ally.